Alabama travel trivia questions, asks, answers, and fun facts. Let me say that again. Alabama travel trivia questions, answers, and fun facts. This is Gail, and welcome to my channel. Tonight we're going to be doing a live stream. It's a pop-up live stream on trivia about the state of Alabama. We did this for a while, about a year ago, and recently a couple of you all have asked for me to do it again. So it's a travel trivia series on Travel Tuesday. So we can just kind of look forward to this. It's not going to be at a specific time, because one of the things that happened last time is people were like, "Oh, I wanted to catch it, but I'm in the Eastern time zone with you, but I was in the Mountain time zone." It just depended on who you talked to. So we're gonna move it around a little bit. I'm going to pretty much keep it around the noon Eastern time zone, but like I said, we're going to be moving around. So before we get started, I want you to click that magic like button right there down below. I'll wait just a second for you to do that. Great. And now, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and do so. And if you have subscribed and you're catching this, welcome back. So we're going to go through the Alabama travel trivia questions. I have been to Alabama, which is why I wanted to start with this. Plus the fact it is the first state in the alphabetical list. But I want to try to do the places that I've been first, and then we'll just go for there. Fortunately, I have been through a good portion of the U.S. I forget how many states, but once I get the van life back on the road and get another van, I'm going to be going out and visiting some more amazing places. Have you all ever been to Alabama? If you have or have not, drop that in the comments. I want to see who all has been there. Alabama is just really such a neat place because there are so many varied opportunities to just relax and have some fun. To live up to our motto, to be bodacious, no matter what life throws at you, you're not going to let it get in the way. So, yeah, it's a great state for that, because you can literally go from up next to Tennessee and more of kind of like the flat area of Tennessee, all the way down to the beach. And you've got a lot of history, a lot of places in between. So, yeah, there we go. All right. Are you all ready for this? I see we've got one in the chat. Hi and welcome. Welcome. Now, we're going to be going through this. So if you would like to share it, we would appreciate that, because that's how we grow and get more people in to answer the trivia questions and just relax and have fun. Trivia is really hot right now, which I think is just the coolest thing ever. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about which city is home to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, which is often called Earth's largest space museum. And if you should go to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, you're going to see some rockets on display. And this city is actually important to me personally, because it's where, guess what? This is not going to be a trivia question. It's just a little fun fact I'm going to toss out. That's where my parents met. Yes, in Huntsville, Alabama. That's where they met, and that is the home of the Space and Rocket Center. Now, Space Camp is a big thing there, and the Space Camp alumni have done really well, because there's 5 graduates of the Space Camp that have gone on to become astronauts, right? So it's kind of a kids, kind of a summer camp kind of thing. Weekend camp, I think they've added that. And kids get to learn all about space. Well, not all about it, but they get to learn about space. They get to hands-on experience some of the really neat equipment that they have for training and so forth. There is a lot of walking. I'm going to hit you up with that right now. First thing, if you have a mobility disability, there is a lot of walking, but most all of it that I went to was mobility friendly and accessible. So I didn't have any problems with that. I walk with a leg brace. I have foot drop. It may be a little different, like if you're in a wheelchair or you're walking with a cane. But all I can say is my personal experience, I didn't have any problems. Last time we were there on a weekday and it wasn't super crowded. The one thing that I had about it kind of being crowded is that school groups, where school was in session, and we had a couple of school groups there that came in, and yeah, so it was a little bit crowded for that, but not real bad. Yeah, we had a great time. They've got refreshments and things that you can buy there. They've got the concessions. We just actually brought sandwiches in, and we just ate the sandwiches in the car before we went in. And I don't remember what we grabbed from the concessions there, but we try to always buy something, and I always try to go to the gift shop because I want to support these programs, right? Because if they don't get public support, they won't exist. And I always try to buy that. That's why I have got like postcards and things over here from multiple places that I've been. So, okay. I see we've got a second one in here. Hi and welcome. Welcome. Drop in the chat. Let me know where you're from and if you've been to Alabama. Our next travel trivia question. Are you all ready for it? Yeah, I think so. Okay, we got it going. How many miles long is the Natchez Trace Parkway, and how much of it passes through Alabama? So I guess that's technically two questions in one. The Natchez Trace is a driving trail that takes you through portions of Tennessee and on down into Alabama. It's a really neat trail. You can spend multiple days on it if you want to, or you can just drive it in a day. But as you go through, you're looking at about 10,000 years of history if you go through the different parts. It roughly follows the old Natchez Trace, and that's a historic travel corridor, and it was used by the Native American Indians, European settlers, soldiers, presidents past, and so forth. And now it's a scenic drive. There is a lot of places to stop. It's not going to take you through the wilderness, for example. So there's plenty of places to stop, spend the night, whether you want a hotel or if you're doing RV life and you want to go camping. There are tons of places all along that parkway. Oh, yeah. So how many miles long is this? What do you think? I'm going to give you a couple of different options here. One is that it's about, and they say about on the National Park Service website, which is where I got the information for this. And I'm going to post a link down below in the first comment section, and I'm going to pin it. That way you all can find it. And the link is going to go to the Google Drive page where I have posted the questions and the answers along with the sources. So if you want to have fun and see how many of your friends that you can stump, you can do that. All right. And it'll be real easy for you to find. You'll just click that link. So about how many miles long is the Natchez Trace Parkway? Is it about 444 miles long, 555 miles long, or 333 miles long? Those are your choices. So I'm going to wait just a second and let you all put your answers in We'll see what we got here. I've already got one. Okay, great. Yeah, and if you've ever been on the Natchez Trace, drop that down in there and tell me what you think too. Also on the Natchez Trace, I want y'all to know there's no fees associated with it. And they do have some visitor centers on the way, and they may have an entrance fee, but there's nothing on the Natchez Trace Parkway that itself, they don't charge an entrance fee to drive down that parkway. I don't remember paying a visitor fee to enter at any of the visitor centers that we went to. Most of them are pet friendly on the walking trails and stuff, but they're not pet friendly as far as visitor centers. You will have some opportunities, like some of the campgrounds are pet friendly if you're going to be walking with that. Of course, everybody allowed my service dog. So yeah, no questions, no problems, no hesitation, no issues with access. Okay. So we're going to get back over here to it. How many miles long is the Natchez Trace Parkway? It's 444 miles long. But the interesting part is there's roughly 33 miles that actually run through Alabama. So most of it goes through the other states, right? So yeah, I thought that was really interesting that for a parkway that long, it just doesn't have thousands of miles, running through Alabama. So yeah, still worth the drive, still interesting, still a lot of history. We're talking about people who have walked this trace for literally thousands of years, because you can travel through about, I think, 10,000 years. It's a designed landscape, which means it's not all natural, because it is the parkway, and it's the only parkway that actually commemorates an ancient travel route. So it was designated in 1938 to commemorate the travel corridor that was named the Natchez Trace. So there you go, a little bit of history tossed in there too. Oh yeah. I see I've got one that says she likes history. That's awesome. Okay, you're going to really like the next question then, Jen, if you like history. Yeah, you're going to like it. And the next question is, and this was a spot that I thought was really cool when I went to visit it because I like history. And this is the Russell Cave National Monument. And there was no fee for this one either, which was really, really nice. Now, this is a national monument, so it's kind of different from the national park. It's not as elaborate, but it's still worth a visit. It's just really cool. The part that is elaborate is really nice and it's detailed. It just doesn't have like tons of hiking trails and things like that. But that's our next question up. So let me read you just a little bit about the park, okay? The monument. So what is Russell Cave National Monument? This is an archaeological site, and it's in northeastern Alabama. It's close to Bridgeport. It's not far from Chattanooga, and it preserves one of the most complete records of prehistoric culture in the entire Southeast. So let me read just a little bit of it to you. Established on May 11, 1961, when the property was donated by the National Geographic Society. The site was used as a seasonal shelter by Native Americans from, get this you all, from around 6500 BCE through approximately 1650 CE. Okay. It's located in Jackson County, Alabama, and it contains extensive, stone tools, pottery, burial remains, and it documents, the thousands and thousands of years of human history that have been on it. So for me, one of the really cool things about going to the Russell Cave National Monument is that you were literally stepping in the footsteps of an ancient culture. You know, you got to think about it. Where else can you walk that where you're directly in the footsteps of culture and history that dates back to 6500 BCE? So that kind of blew my mind. You know, if you all are interested in history like that and you think that's cool too, drop that down in the chat. Okay, drop it down in the chat box. And of course, if you all are seeing this later, leave that too. Hey, we've got Daniel Brown in now. Hi, Daniel, and welcome. You're on YouTube. Hi, how are you today? Good morning. New Zealand, welcome to Yes, good. My friend, love cute, good dogs. Happy, good. Thank you. Thank you. And he's referring to my adorable service dog, Pipsy, who is not in here. Now, one night when I was live streaming, he came in and he stopped playing and came in and interrupted me and beeped me to let me know that my blood sugar was dropping. So hopefully we won't have that problem tonight. I've already drank just a little bit of Sprite. So yeah, that was interesting. That was interesting. So anyway, you know, for me, it was just really cool to see this really neat area. It is a cave. There is a walkway going around the cave. This one has had a little bit of issue for me, being mobility challenged, and that is we went in the fall and some of the leaves have started dropping. It is a little bit of an incline to get down to the cave. Not really bad. For me, it was more, you know, some of the leaves that had blown on. But otherwise, it's accessible. Visitor center, of course, fully accessible. They had handicap parking that was really close and easy. One of the things that I've noticed about some of the parks, for example, is they'll have handicap parking, but it's not really up close to the building, or there will be parking spaces. And for whatever reason, they will have put this little cut in the curb 4 or 5 spaces down from the main handicap parking, and they didn't do this here. So really glad for that. Really glad Daniel's having a good day. Really glad for that. And yeah, so going back to this really neat place. The cave, it is now managed by the National Park Service, and visitors can explore all of the exhibits at the visitor center. You can walk on the boardwalk. That's what you go down to the cave where they had some leaves. And you can go near the cave entrance. You cannot go directly into the cave anymore because people were bothering some of the artifacts and stuff in the cave. So, but you can go down to the front of the cave, and you know, you just know that people have walked all through that. But anyway, no admission fee, none, at least not as of the date that I'm writing this. But things do change, so always verify before you go. But when I went, there was no admission fee. They had a bookstore, you know, you could spend money in there, so yay for that. All right. So, all of that being said, I've got some trivia questions. Okay, we are joined on YouTube by P&L Railroader, so hi and welcome. And we've got Valerie Reese here. It's all about the adventure with Valerie. So hi and welcome. I'm going to be doing some Travel Tuesday live streams and kind of varying the time because some people last time were like, hey, you're in the Eastern Zone. I'm in Pacific. I'm in Mountain Zone. And can we catch it live? So I'm going to move it around just a little bit on Tuesdays. So, all right. Travel trivia question. When was Russell Cave designated as a national monument? When was it designated as a national monument? 1960, 1961, or 1971? Those are your 3 options: 1960, 1961, or 1971. What do you all think? You know, Drop your comment down there. Let me know. Okay, P&L Railroad says, hey, Gail, I was in Pensacola, Florida, and I went to the National Aviation Museum today. Is that not an awesome place? That is, and just amazing place to go. And if you like that, you need to go to Dayton to the big Air Force Museum up there, because that is also amazing. Yeah. Okay, so we've got 1960 and we've got 1971. Oh, y'all are killing me here. No, sorry. May 11, 1961. May 11, 1961. And this covers the next trivia question. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, okay? This covers 310 acres. So that's going to put it around the middle tier of the national park monuments as far as size. But you can't walk through all 310 acres. There was like a little trail there. We couldn't go on it because it was closed for whatever reason, but we could just go down to the cave and the visitor center. And in the cave, which was really, really cool, they have created this exhibit about what life was like in some of the different eras. So you can see some of the utensils and just some of the different ways of life, some of the clothing. Really, really fascinating. And yeah, even nicer because it is free. The best price ever. P&L got to see the Blue Angels. Aren't they incredible? I love their shows. One of the first shows that I ever went to was the Blue Angels. Valerie Reese is telling her age here. I should have said 1961. That's the year I was born. Yeah, telling your age, but that's okay. But yeah, 1961 was when it was set aside as a monument. So yeah. All right. So the next thing, we're going to switch gears. It's still Native American history, but it doesn't go back, 6,500 years BCE, which still freaks me out. We're going to talk for a second about the Trail of Tears in Alabama. Now, the Trail of Tears was horrific. It is a long trail. It goes through multiple states. There was a land route. There was a water route. And a lot of people still, it surprises me that people still don't know about the Trail of Tears. And in Alabama, the Trail of Tears, the official Trail of Tears, crossed the old, what would be Natchez Trace in several areas. Now, there's no known documentation on exactly how the old trace was used, but we do know it was accessed through that. It was a major travel corridor at the time, and that's why. So it's also likely, they say, that this is the last trail that people walked prior to departing on the major routes. So the Trail of Tears, what is the Trail of Tears? Do you all know? Toss that in the chat if you all know what the Trail of Tears is. I hope everyone does. But if you don't, it's okay, because that's where I'm going to tell you. Okay. All right. So, yeah, no. Okay. All right. So, the Trail of Tears is the forced removal of Native Americans from their homes and lands in Southeast Tennessee to lands in the west of the country. So, beyond the Mississippi. If you have ever been on the Trail of Tears or seen the difference in the terrain, I cannot imagine what these people thought when they went from this lush greenery with mountains and lakes and streams and food was plentiful to Oklahoma. it's where it's drier and it's hotter and food is a little more scarce. But yeah, this was the forced removal. Most of the people walked. Thousands perished on the trip. There's no really good numbers as far as how many started and how many actually arrived. The Cherokee were one of the last removed, and that was in 1838, May of 1838. Choctaw was the first that were removed, and portions of that went through Alabama. Now, there was one group that traveled overland in Arkansas, and they said they suffered 3 to 5 deaths per day due to illness and drought. After they were removed, about 15,000 more awaited removal. There was not an option. Crowding, poor sanitation, drought, lack of food. It was just obviously not a good thing. So by the 13th of November that year, groups of 1,000 trudged 800 miles. Now, we've got kids today that are growing up that yell about walking to the mailbox. They don't want to go and they get frustrated just walking to the mailbox. So here we have these people who walked 800 miles. So, yeah, and part of that goes through Alabama. And so one of the towns that was along one of the trail's tier routes in Alabama is the big town of, y'all, don't bother looking this up on the map because it's going to take you a minute to find it. But one of the towns is the town of Fort Payne. It's in northeastern Alabama, and it's along one of the Trail of Tear routes. But Fort Payne is also known and famous for something else. There is a wildly famous music group that's from Fort Payne. I'm going to see if y'all can guess what that music group might be. What the name of that group might be. It's a country music group. They have won multiple records, multiple awards rather, widely recognized all over the world. And that is the Alabama Band, one of the most successful bands in the country, formed in Fort Payne, Alabama, back in 1969, founded by Randy Owens, who did the lead vocals, and his cousin, Teddy Gentry, who did backup. They actually were joined by other family members, Jeff Cook, who was a cousin, and they first operated under the name, I've got to look at this to make sure, Young Country. Then later they changed their name and they went with Wild Country, and then finally wound up with the name we know and love, which is Alabama. And their biggest success came in the 1980s, where they had, get this, 27 country number one songs. This says, I'm going to read this to you. 7 multi-platinum albums and received numerous major awards. First single on RCA Records was Tennessee River, and that started the whole streak. So, interesting group. Actually, it's what they put Fort Payne on the map. It's what they became famous for. And Valerie Reese did guess Alabama, by the way. So, yeah, there you go. It actually put the town on the map. It was said one time when I was down there, they had this whole Alabama Visitor Center as you went in. And we were told at that time that Alabama was the number one employer in the county. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting too. And it's one of the towns along, the Trail of Tears there, northeastern Alabama. Okay, so we're going to switch gears just a little bit. We talked about some of the Native American history there in Alabama, and now we're going to move up toward modern day to some of the civil rights there. When was the Selma to Montgomery. A lot of people, I'm sure, are familiar with Selma, Alabama. Heard about that probably in history class. But when was the National Historic Trail established? We're going to say 1996, 2006, or 2016. What year? It was established by Congress. Selma to Montgomery National Historic Trail, which means there's multiple sites on it. You're not just at, one spot. There's multiple sites. Hey, Peter Parker is in the house. Wow, it's Saturday already. No. I'm going to try to do some Tuesday travel trivia live streams just to have some fun. And let's see, we've got a couple of answers in already. 1996 or 2006. Peter Parker says 1996. Valerie Reese is saying 2006. And it was actually 1996. 1996. And so the Selma to Montgomery marches, they created the National Historic Trail to commemorate that, the people and the things that happened. It's the historic route. And it was for black and white, nonviolent supporters. Let me just read this to make sure I get it all right. Fought for the right to vote in central Alabama, and today you can connect with the history and trace the events of these marches along the 54-mile trail. It was kind of violent at times. It got to be a little difficult, shall we say, for some of the people who were walking. There were various, it was one march, but there were also various activities, I guess you could say, that took place. And so this trail stops at some of the sites so you can actually learn more about the civil rights movement and some of the events. Okay. And let's see, Valerie. Okay, Valerie says she's leaving for New York on Friday and will be with family until Labor Day. I'm not sure how much YouTube I'll be watching during that time. Hey, Valerie, just go have fun. I hope you enjoy seeing your family there in New York. You just have a fun time. Try not to worry about YouTube. Just relax and tell everybody I said hello. Or I guess in the South, I guess I could say, tell your mom and then, in that one of the sayings, say hello. Okay. All right. So, okay. The next trivia question was, what does the Selma to Montgomery Trail commemorate? And I just answered it, that it was the Voting Rights March from Selma to Montgomery. It was led by Dr. Martin Luther King, by the way, and it was really a pivotal event. Okay, switching gears once again. This one's going to be a little bit more fun, but it's going to trip you up. I can just about guarantee it, and that's why I put it in. So it's kind of a trick question, and I'm actually not going to give you several cities to choose from. Okay, you'll be fine with it, and when you stop think about it, where was the first Mardi Gras in what would become the United States celebrated? Where was the very first Mardi Gras? It's a coastal city, I guess you could say, really on the bay, and it's in Alabama. Now, if you're not familiar with Mardi Gras, which I hope you are, but if you're not, it's an annual celebration, and it goes from the early January up to Lent, and Fat Tuesday is kind of the big hurrah before the season of Lent begins. Lent being a religious time period of sacrifice and penitence in context of the Christian religion. Mardi Gras is this giant party that takes place for weeks before Lent. A lot of people think that it started in Louisiana, but it did not. It did not. actually start in Louisiana. The very first Mardi Gras was actually in the early 1700s in, get this, Mobile, Alabama. Mobile, Alabama, right down there on the water, well before New Orleans was even thought about. Okay, well before it was established. 1703. Can you believe that? Like, until I looked this up, and I double checked this with a few different sources. Okay, history.com had a nice write up on it, which I'm going to put the link to the trivia questions and answers down in the comments box after the live stream. Of course, after the live stream, and you all can check it out. I've got the sources on there too. But yeah, it's a big annual celebration. They have parades and floats and beads and everything that you associate with Mardi Gras. It all started down in Alabama. And there is actually some disagreement as far as like actually when it started. And some people say it was 1699, but the general accepted is 1703. But there is just a little bit of disagreement on that. Peter Parker is saying, yeah, I don't want to see boobs, so I don't go. Gotcha. There are some family-friendly activities. The parades are very much family-friendly, so it's not all, booze and nakedness. There are some fun things that are definitely family-friendly. All right, so I got 2 more trivia questions for you. 2 more. Okay. One of them's really easy. Okay. Did the Battle of Mobile Bay take place in Alabama? Did it? Did it take place in Alabama? The Battle of Mobile Bay? Yes, it did. Okay. Valerie is saying, I'm really bad at history and trivia. You're doing fine. You are doing fine. So the Battle of Mobile Bay took place in Alabama, 1864. Okay. And it's a very famous battle, and it was made famous by a very famous line that I know you all are going to recognize that was actually said during the Battle of Mobile Bay, and it became famous. Have you all ever heard of the quote, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead"? I bet you have. Okay, Peter Parker says he loves history, so yay! Yay! Well, that famous line about the torpedoes and full speed ahead was said during the Battle of Mobile Bay, because there was torpedoes apparently everywhere in the water, and so they wanted to get through, and Admiral David Farragut, he's the one remembered for that famous quote because the admiral is the one who said that. Now, interestingly enough, there is actually a town in Tennessee right outside of Knoxville, Tennessee, and the town is Farragut, named for Admiral David Farragut, which has nothing to do with Alabama, but thought I'd toss that in. So that's your freebie trivia. That is your freebie trivia for the night. I don't have any others to really toss out there. But I do have one more question. One more. What is the most iconic attraction in Alabama? Yeah, iconic. It's the top paid tourist attraction in the state. Actually, one that we've already talked about a little bit right at the very first of the live stream. So if you haven't been here since the first of the live stream, you missed it. But that's okay. All is forgiven. So what might it be? We've talked about civil rights. We've talked about the Trail of Tears, the Natchez Trace, the Selma to Montgomery Trail. We've talked about Russell Cave National Monument. But what is the most iconic attraction? It's in Huntsville, Alabama. What big attraction is in Huntsville, Alabama? It is the Space and Rocket Center. The U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville is frequently ranked as the most iconic attraction in the state of Alabama. It's also known as Earth's largest space museum. The thing is huge. It is amazing. I had no accessibility issues at all, but there is a lot of walking. There are a few places where you can sit down, though. Thank goodness for those. But you can take just a really nice tour of it. There's rockets there, and it's, as I said in the beginning, it's near and dear to my heart because not only is the Space and Rocket Center freaking amazing, but I would probably not be here were it not for the Space and Rocket Center, because my mom and dad, that's where they met, is the Space and Rocket Center. No, they met in Huntsville. At the time that the Space and Rocket Center was really not even thought about yet, they were still working on the moon race. And the whole big thing was to do the Saturn V and get that rocket done and get it up. That's what my parents were both working on. Story is that my mother was in the secretarial pool and she saw my dad, and she knew instantly, she says, that he was the man she was going to marry. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. That's what she said. She's not alive now, so I can't ask her. But that's what she used to always say. So, space program. Well, Peter Parker is saying I came from another planet. I have been accused of being a space cadet, but not in the literal sense. I've been told that I was spacey, that I was a space cadet, all of those things, just because of where my parents met. They were working on the Saturn V at the time. The center itself, I'm going to sneeze. No, I'm not. Yeah, I am. No, I'm not. Okay. The center itself opened in 1970, and my parents met around 1963, 64. And that was, the center actually opened just after the Apollo moon landing. The second crewed, that was the second crewed mission to the moon, to the Mars surface. And the Space and Rocket Center showcases the Apollo program hardware, which is really kind of cool. And it has the Apollo 16 capsule and interactive science exhibits, which, you know, you got to have. And they've got space shuttle exhibits, Army rocketry, aircraft, 1,500 plus permanent displays. Come on, not displays, artifacts, permanent artifacts. So it's just a really, really cool place. They have space camp, which is, you know, for kids. I wish they did it for adults, but they actually have two different space camp programs. It's just, if y'all go to Alabama, you should stop by Huntsville and check it out. It's just really fascinating. Really fascinating. But then, you know, it was really interesting too to go see the site of the Battle of Mobile Bay. There's a fort there. I'm going to see if I can pick up a picture of that, actually. I'm not sure that I can. But it's just really Alabama has just got so much to offer that it's just, you can't go wrong just about. Of course, I like Alaska, but that's okay. Oh, I don't have a picture of the rocket. I was hoping I did. Sorry, folks, no rocket picture. Yeah, but I've been to each of these places. That's why I picked them to talk about them. Because it's a little, you know, it's a little more fun to talk about places where you've been. That way I can answer more questions, help you if you've got a mobility issue. I can tell you how accessible it is and so forth. And all of these places really are pretty accessible, except, like I said, Russell Cave, and that's just because of the leaves. It was fall, but I was still able to go. Good sturdy hand railing. and just fascinating. All of these places, when you go, you're actually, you're stepping in history. Even if you go to Mobile, Alabama, and you don't experience any other history and you just drive through it, then you're still driving through the place that had the first Mardi Gras back in either 1699 or 1703. So it's, if you all go, I hope you enjoy that part of it. And it's also nice because you can drive from, relative flatlands all the way down to the coast and experience all those thousands of years of history, plus, the ancient coast. Stick your feet in the water. Enjoy it and have fun. So, all right, we are going to kind of take this in alphabetical order. Today kicked off Alabama, or Alabama, as I have it sometimes say, but that's, the way it is. Southern accent, you just got to roll with it, right? So, Alabama, the first Travel Tuesday trivia that we've done in a while. We're going to keep this on Tuesdays. I'm going to roll a little bit with a different time so people cannot be mad at me about different time zones. You can still be mad at me, but you can, figure out something else, I guess. So, all right. So I hope you all have enjoyed this. What do you think? What do you think? Toss that over in the comments and let me know, because I'd love to know your thoughts. And again, after this, I am going to share the link down in the comments. You all can share the questions and, just create a little quiz so you can kind of stump your friends and see how many questions they can get. And they're going to think you're so smart, right? Because you're going to know all the answers. Just don't tell them you have them on a cheat sheet. Okay, this is fine. It was fun. Another, it was fun. Okay, so, yeah, we're going to keep doing this. All right, you all. Go out. Have a great week. Be bodacious. Don't let life get in the way of living. And I will see you next time, Sunday night at 7:30, and possibly also, if I can squeeze it in, I'm going to try to do it on Saturday night, but I got to go to a conference. So we'll see. So, all right. You guys take care, and I'll see you on the next one.